Well, welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs, and my name again is Jeffrey Davis. I'm the host, and we are streaming more stories, and we hope you're tuning them in because they're always very interesting, and I'm pretty excited about our next one. Let's get to it right away. We're going to be interviewing David Tabatadze, co-founder and president of Zata Pharmaceuticals, and John Weaver, president and CEO of Mass BioMedical Initiatives. Welcome, gentlemen. David,
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, David, why don't you talk about why you had to bring a bodyguard to this interview?
Okay, pleasure to be here. I'm David Tabatadze, president and co-founder Zata, and also co-inventor technology I want to discuss today. John is my advisor in strategy, business strategy, and considering my thick Georgian accent and tendency to go to deep in science, and he's very familiar by technology, I decided to let him to manage to answer business-related questions, considering of background of your listeners. And anytime my input will be needed, I will jump in. John.
So thanks for having us, Jeff, and I'm excited to be talking about David's technology with Zata and his ZVAX system for sterilizing viruses for vaccine development. I work with Massachusetts BioMedical Initiatives. We're a nonprofit biotech incubator, actually the longest running in the Commonwealth. And we provide a series of support for early stage companies just like David, including business strategy advice, assistance, lab space, et cetera. So we consider ourselves an extension of David's team, and we're just happy to be here to support him today.
Wow. Well, I mean, if the mics were off, what would David want you to say about him and his technology?
It's the best. So David
Why?
David has really come up with a really novel technology for sterilizing any type of DNA or RNA-based cells. So David has the ability, for an example here with ZVAX, to sterilize a virus, a live virus, without damaging the exterior of the virus. And that's a key advantage when it comes to the speed and efficacy of whole-killed vaccine development, particularly in a COVID world where we sit right now. And I can get into more of the details as to how and why.
Well, I mean, I am interested because you mentioned, sterilizing, a virus, and then you mentioned COVID. So clearly you have made a connection between the two. So let's talk about its applicability to what we're seeing today in our world.
Sure. So, now we've been about 5, 6, even longer months without a vaccine, and the death toll in the United States continues to climb as it does internationally. And really, everybody is laser focused on on hope and the promise of a vaccine. Hopefully, at the end of the fourth quarter of this year, or early in the first quarter of FY21, and the world is counting on a cure. There's a couple of main types of vaccines that are out there. There's been a lot of conversation lately about Moderna and Pfizer and their mRNA technologies, and the promise that they could provide for vaccine development. But the most kind of tried and true form of vaccine development is similar to what they use for the seasonal influenza, the flu, which is a whole-killed vaccine. They're fast, they're cost-effective. Their biggest challenge has really been around efficacy. And that efficacy challenges come from the sterilization process. When you use formaldehyde or another product to sterilize a vaccine for whole-killed vaccine development, a lot of times it damages the virus, and it makes it so that it can't replicate, which is what we're aiming for. But in the process, it also damages the exterior of the virus, which makes it harder for the human body to recognize it and reduces the efficacy of that vaccine once it's introduced in your body. David's technology, on the other hand, goes in from the inside out, kills the virus from the inside without damaging the exterior, so that your body recognizes it as in full shape and form of the initial virus, which improves the efficacy, and we think offers a real promise for that type of vaccine development for COVID, seasonal influenza, and any other type of future pandemic-related virus.
Yes, it easily will be adaptable any new pathogens we can face. It could be virus, bacteria, parasites. So when technology is developed, it could be easily adopted, and in a few months we can have a ready vaccine against any future germs, as long as for upgraded, currently used inactivated vaccines such as polio or flu.
So, since we seem to be at the Kentucky Derby of vaccines, where everybody is racing to the finish line and also in great numbers, what does your timeline look like? And, and how broad a market penetration can you do? So there's two questions.
So when you look at the horse race, there's a bunch of candidates in it, and there's been a lot of focus in the United States on Moderna and on Pfizer, but globally, if you look, one of the furthest along vaccine candidates has been being produced in China by a group called Sinovac, and that's this type of virus or vaccine that David is focused on, that whole-killed vaccine type candidate. So actually, the type of vaccine that we provide opportunity for is actually in the lead. So David's working on now is trying to develop partnerships with some of these larger vaccine manufacturers to let them know there's a better way, and that we can create fast and cost-effective and more efficient vaccines by just changing the sterilization process that they're currently using to get their whole-killed viruses. So David started some partnerships. We have one partnership that we've just secured with an international group. That is kind of the first kick forward on that. And now looking for some additional international pharma groups and other investors to try to help bring this to a more global scale.
Well, I have mixed feelings about what you're saying, man. It's been limited data. Sometimes the large pharmaceutical companies have followed the route of the traditional car companies, and that is that they don't always love alternative technologies, because it sort of takes them off their profits, their process. Do you find that at all, that you're going counterculture?
I think the good news in this respect is that we're not changing anything that they have a ton of IP or they have a major investment in. We're changing one of their tools. So right now they're using formalin or formaldehyde, which is a relatively inexpensive tool that, but it paints with a broad brush. When it kills the virus, it also kills the external surface of it. We're asking them to use a similarly cost-effective tool, but one that improves the efficacy. And it's not something that the current tool, the formaldehyde, doesn't have any IP around it. So it's not something that they're heavily invested in. We're just asking them to change their purchasing decision a little bit to get a better product at the end.
Very interesting. We've been speaking with first John Weaver, President and CEO of Mass BioMedical Initiatives, and David Tabatadze, co-founder, president of Zata Pharmaceuticals. Very interesting process. If somebody were looking to learn more about either of your companies or connect with either of you, how would they do that?
LinkedIn is a really powerful tool, and we'd love to connect with the folks through that. And I think you can also check out our websites, Zata's website at zatapharmaceuticals.com and MBI's at massbiomed.org.
Right. David?
Yes. Yes, okay. I would love if somebody reaches you and if you can make introduction, or as John directly said, we have our websites, www.Zata .com or MBI.com, because we are also listed on John's website.
Great, thank you very much. Very much appreciate it, and remind everybody that this is Radio Entrepreneurs, and we're really talking to two real entrepreneurs, and we're wishing them the best of success for all of us and for yourselves. Thank you very much. We'll take a break. We'll be right back after this short message.